Then we have the fourth characteristic of a strong church. You have to show God in community. I call this the organizational core. How do Christians reveal the face of Christ in a specific place as a community? This is church, where you live it out as a group. Christianity was never meant to be lived alone. The Bible is always addressed to us, never to the individual. So the church always has to organize as a community and show the face of Christ together. They live out the story of the gospel in such a way that Christ and his power becomes clear. It's written on the lives of the people of God. So if live, the characteristic of live, is how you take the gospel in deep as an individual, show, the mark of show, is how you present the love of Christ to the society or to the locality, to the neighborhood as a group. It's communal. And this requires the church to be organized. There has to be leaders. There has to be a certain amount of administration. There has to be structure. There has to be distribution. This is the organizational imperative. We have to get together as a group of people and organize ourselves. And of course, very often we have to organize in a way that's culturally appropriate in that context. Now, Paul and Barnabas appoint elders, it says in Acts 14:23, and they organize the church. And it also says in verse 28, they stayed there a long time. It's clear that they knew they had to move on, but they didn't rush, because central to their building a church was to appoint leaders and train them up in ways that would help the new believers. That's organizational work. They took time to create a good structure and make sure that it was staffed by the right people. And by staying a long time, they could see how things went, they could mentor the leaders for a time, and make sure that the focus was kept ruthlessly on mission. So remember, each time we have to look from the persecutor's perspective, right? And of course, in other parts of this course, we look at the 4 ways the persecutor tries to kill the church. And 3 of them target the church as a community, compromise the community, promote paralyzing people, and support a suffocating structure. These are all designed to make sure that the church as a community ends up so disunited and divided or weak that no one would really want to join it. Because we need to have systems to distribute resources fairly. And some say, well, it's just administration. But it is critical. And the persecutor seeks to disrupt. In this area especially, disrupt and distract are vital here. Anything that keeps the church from being focused on what really matters. Deceive is also very useful, because it can result in views that, for example, treat the church as evil, so the church doesn't need to reach out at all. The church loses interest in showing the world the kind of community that Christ brings. And this can be a particular temptation in persecuted communities, especially those who are underground. Often underground churches see the world purely in terms as hostile. And they can even develop a kind of contempt for the world, which dilutes their love for it. And this comes from, understandably, their bitter experience of rejection. But bitterness is not supposed to have the last word. Christ's forgiving love is supposed to be the last word. And then another feature of persecuted churches, and we'll see this in our spirituality section, is legalism. And this can damage the show element, where we're simply trying to say, come to this community and see the love of action. But a legalistic church doesn't look very impressive.